GIS. So you now combine the, it is capable of managing, yes, it is a special purpose digital database in which common spatial coordinate system is the primary means of reference. Now, you have your GPS, either it's in your phone or if you have you bought a special GPS. Those GPS give you the location, the locational references, that is the coordinate, the latitude and the longitude, which are, we learned in our primary school that they are imaginary lines that are created. So wherever you are, whatever position on the earth has its own coordinate, where the latitude and the longitude intersect. That point is the coordinate. So in GIS, the most important data that you must collect is that coordinate, which is the reference point, the primary reference point. The point you are staying and the point another person is staying, maybe if you are staying together, your own point is different, must be different from its own point. That's why you say no two buildings, no two parcels of land is the same with regards to what? Location. So this is very important. So for you to know where your building is, you collect the data from your building areas. The internet is unstable. Okay. Now, there are types of data that you use in GIS. GIS make use of two types of data, because spatial data and attribute data or non-spatial data. Spatial data illustrate the absolute and relative location of geographical features in form of geometry, that is where the land is located. Where is the land? Where is it located? That is features that occupy space. So when I'm referring to spatial data, is data that relate to a place, a thing that occupies space. Buildings occupy space, so it is a spatial data. Rivers occupy space. Roads occupy space. Those are spatial word data. Attribute data describe characteristics of the spatial data. These characteristics can be quantitative or qualitative in nature. Attribute data is often referred to as tabular data. Attribute data, that is what is where. For example, the address of a place. You say building. This building is spatial data. The building has a name. For you to distinguish it between building A and building B, it must have what? A name. And that is why you give an address to a building. Oh, property number 1212 this street, number 12 College Road, number 12 University Road, number 10 University Road. That number 10 University Road is an attribute data describing the position, the spatial data, the building that you are referring to. You say this stream, River Niger. River Niger, that name River Niger is an attribute data, but the river itself is a spatial word data. Hope you are seeing the distinction between attribute data and spatial word data. Attribute data can also be in form of areas, in form of percentages, in form of ranking. It can be qualitative, land use, ownership. Who owns this? Who owns this? So the total area of the land is 600 square meters. That is an attribute word, data. So in GIS, you need these two types of data. The spatial data, the one that occupies space and a location. And the second one, which is the attribute data, the one that describes the spatial data, making it to be meaningful, to distinguish between one spatial data to another spatial data. Now, look at it. Someone will ask, what are the components of GIS? What made up a GIS? GIS has several components. One of the components of the GIS is what? People. The people are the component who actually make use of the GIS work. They include the managers, database administrators, application scientists, system analysts, the programmers. These are the people. Without the people, the computer cannot perform its function. The GIS cannot perform its functions. So the people must be there. You know, the general users must be there. People who will use the GIS, the programmers must be there, who will design it. And there are several people who use GIS. You and I, as a facility manager, use it. As a resource manager, use this. Planner, use this. Surveyors, whether you're a land surveyors, a quantity surveyors, engineers, lawyers, or businesses, use this word, GIS. So one major component of GIS is the people. Two, another component of the GIS is procedures, method. The procedure here include how the data will be retrieved, how the data will be imputed into the system, how the data will be stored, how the data will be managed, will be transformed, analyzed, and finally presented as an output. You must capture the data. You must impute the data into the system. It must store there. You analyze it there, and before it becomes useful. So procedure, method is very important. Before you do GIS, you must capture the data. That's really one of the instruments that they can use to capture data is the GIS. Today you say, oh, Google Map. Google Map, you can use it to give you direction from one place to another. Or if you want to locate this property here, go there, use the Google Map to go there. Because human beings have sat down, people, the Googles, they have given people contract, give them award them to collect all these information and collect it and store it there. And that is why we are the users of it. So procedures must be there. 2 and 3, another component of GIS is the hardwares. The hardwares must be available. Hardwares consist of the technical equipment needed to run a GIS, which include a computer system with enough power to run the software. I know. What are hardwares? Example of some of those hardwares are, you have the camera, you have the scanner, you have the digitizer, you have the global position system, that's the GPS, you have the data loggers, you have the media disks, and the printers. These are all examples of the hardware. Before you operate the GIS, all these equipment, all these hardwares must be what? Available. Must be available before the system can work. Now, the softwares. Now, you need the software. Another component of GIS is the softwares. There are many different types of GIS software available. All must have the capability of data input, storage, management, transformation, analysis, and what? Output. So it depending on what you want to use, you can. So we have example of that. We have the Autodesk, we have the AutoCAD map, ArcInfo, ArcView, all are good examples of GIS softwares. Now is the data. That in a first lecture, we discussed extensively about data. Data, perhaps the most consuming and the most costly aspect of the GIS is the data. Creating a database, very important. For you, you must go out because it is a geographical information. You must need all the spatial data. You need to collect them. You must go wherever they are. Assuming you are in Lagos or you are in whatever locations you are. We want to collect all the buildings information on all the buildings in that particular neighborhood. You must route, you must downroute it. You must move from one house to another house, take the measurement of the building, you must snap it, you must collect the coordinates and store it. You move to the next building and do that. Collect all of those information of all the properties within that neighborhood for you to store it in your what? In your GIS software before you can make any use of it. So it is time consuming, it is very costly, and so you must do it painstakingly before you can achieve any result. And it has to be what? Accurate. You must be very accurate in all the data you collect. And like I said, you must collect both the spatial data and the attribute what? Data. So those are some of the components of GIS. Data, very important component. The software, very important component. Hardwares, very important component. Methods, very important, or the procedures, very what? Important. And what? The people. Now, the next thing we'll look at is land administration. The term land administration is used to refer to the process of recording and disseminating information about ownership, value, and use of land and its associated resources. Land administration involves three commodities: the value, ownership, and land use. The benefits of land administration. Grantee ownership and security obtainer. Are you still there? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we choose.
Okay. The benefits of land administration. I say one, it guarantees support for land and property for credit. Develop and monitor land markets. Protect state lands. Reduce land disputes. Facilitate rural and land reforms. Improve urban planning and infrastructure. Support environmental management. Produce statistical data and institutional issues. This is in broad terms what land administrations entails to do. Now, why do we come to land administrations as it is? I brought this to help you because one of the main functions of GIS, the role of GIS in land administration, for example, because you use GIS in land administration. So that's why I have to introduce the benefit, what you understand by land administrations and its benefit, to see how GIS can fit into this thing. Because one of our functions, especially those who work in the ministries, their duty there is because they handle land administration and management. So the question before us now is, what is the role of GIS in land administration? One of the major instruments for change has been computerizations, enhanced through the use of computer, among other things. Now, those of you who work in the ministries, we see the heaps of files of landowners, property owners that are there. If you put those things all into automated form, those files that are heaped there become useless. So it helps to reduce this hard copy work that we do, that keeping of file. You turn them into soft copy and can be stored and retrieved anytime that you need it. Second role is that it speeds up the process of land registrations, of title registrations, the processes of registering of document. If any property that somebody bring the title to register, it serves you a great deal of you going to decide to go and inspect. You go and inspect, you come back, you write a report. But if this information relating to that property, you have captured them previously and stored into your system, you click the number of the plot or use the coordinate of it, you click all the information relating to the plot are there. You have saved a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources staying in your home in getting what you're supposed to have spent 2 days or 3 days to get. So it speeds up the process of registration. 3, we force standardization in the collection and processing of land information. There are standards. If standards are developed, and that standard will maintain throughout, rather than Mr. A will bring a different information, Mr. B will bring a different information, and it will cause conflict. It bring about error. Because assuming a property has been measured, the area is correct and stored in there. Supposing you send Mr. A to go and measure it, the man will come back with different size of the area of the land separately. Then another person will go and bring it on separately. The third person will bring it on separately. That brings what? Confusion. Even in reporting, if you have a standard form of reporting any information about the property, you maintain it rather than Mr. A using his own intuitions, Mr. B using his own initiatives, bring a different result. So it brings about standardizations. 3, prevent unnecessary replications. Avoid duplications. No two properties are the same. No two properties are the same. If you have your GIS in place and your geographical referencing coordinates have been taken on that point, there is no way that duplication can arise, because all of them will tie to his own, the particular properties is tied to its coordinates, and no two coordinates are the same. It decreased the cost and space needed for storing land record. Those in the ministry, for you to store all those heaps of file, you need a whole building. You need a whole building to store it. But with your computer, you can store in your laptop alone. All the information can be stored in that laptop. The space you needed, the building you needed to store those information become useful for other purposes, because every information has been brought into digital world form. So it reduces that space and the cost. It reduces the time and cost involved in transferring property rights and in processing mortgage. It reduces those bureaucracy that occur in ministry. Because sometimes you go, oh, it take you 2 days to research the file. You want to go to the registry. You are going to the archives. You carry ladder, carry your ladder, and you climb and look at the file. Search, you put your waterproof, you put your gun and everything, and go there into the archives to retrieve that. No, with your GIS, you click your computer, information is made available to you without any problems. Simplify the presentation or preparation of disasters or copy of registers. Supposing the disasters occur, like flooding, like earthquake. Now, in a neighborhood that is prone to flooding, and all the information relating to that neighborhood has already been stored in your computer, in a database, and subsequently flooding occur. There were 200 houses within that neighborhood that has been flooded. So you can easily obtain it before you are good there. I'm in a lecture. So you can easily dictate and analyze all the information relating to the properties that have been flooded. Because when it has been flooded, you don't have the information whatsoever to know how to go back to do inspections. Like what happened in 2012 in Lokoja and all those things. We cannot just give an account of the real property that was destroyed. Every information that people were giving were all personal opinions, which with now no recourse to any actual data. Another role that GIS plays in land administration is facilitate the monitoring, analysis of markets, and rental values of land and properties. If you have a property that you want to sell and you have sold, and when you sell, you report the information to the ministry during the process of your registrations and all the informations are stored there. And so for you to want to retrieve such of those information, we want to do a study, we want to do evaluation, we want to know comparables, we want to know the trend of how the property has changed hands within the period of time, you can go to the land registry, you can go to the GIS office and ask for this information and query them. All the information will be made available to you. Rather than you now sit down, oh, what do we surveyor normally do? There was somebody will call you, oh, tell me what is the land value in this particular area? What is the rent for this particular area? All those won't come to pass. Okay, so you stay down and call the land registry that please, I kindly give me information relating to this property within this train, and we'll just copy it, we'll analyze it, and send the information to you. You use it for your daily analysis, daily use, either in valuation or any other things. It also helps in the supply, how new property have been supplied into an area. Having new buildings for the past 5 years that have been built. Because any new building that you want to make, you must receive an approval from it. You must receive an approval. An approval will be recorded. So you can easily obtain such information from the land registries. It also helps in development control. Oh, this year's, from this period of time, this is a development from me from this particular area. Now, this year it has been here, this year it has been there. So you now see how the train of development is going. If there are issues of contraventions, you can easily detect. If people are encroaching, you can easily no. Because every information must have been stored into your database. Amen. Are you there? Are you there?
Yes, sir, we are there.
Yes, we are there,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
You are listening to the, okay. So any questions, any comments? Let's take questions and comments. Yes, I'm listening.
Please, sir, concerning the rules of GIS in land administration, the last one, which is supply, built in. I can't see it very well. Built in what, sir?
Mechanisms.
Okay, mechanism. Thank you.
Yes.
Mechanisms for quality control.
You can see it.
So someone has replied me. Mechanisms.
Okay. So any questions? Do you have any questions? Yes, comments, contributions. Let's make it a discussion. Let's make it discussions.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Can we get a practical demonstration of how to use this GIS, or is outside of our course code, or outside of our course?
Outside of the, there is no time for this now. There is no time for this. If you see one of the nice journal,
Yes.
If you see one of the nice journal, we have tried to demonstrate it there in the nice journal, how to use the GIS in managing railway corporation as a case study to do that. If you go to the ministry, if you you go to the Ministry of Lands, many ministries of land now, they have digitized their land information system or their land registry. They have digitized it. So go there, they will tell you, they'll show you good example of it. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
I can hear you, sir.
Yes. This is a revision. This is a revision. So for us to do that now, because there will be other lectures that will be coming in. So even the Excel, which is so common, we did not even demonstrate it. Then talk about the sophisticated software like GIS. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So
So for the purpose of exam,
okay.
nobody will give you exam that you should go. Yes.
No, I'm
Nobody will give you an
asking.
exam to go and demonstrate how to use that, unless you carry your computer to that place.
What if I want?
Even the
I'm
institution cannot afford to buy the
I'm
software.
talking about following it further outside of exams and the lectures. Any recommendations?
Yeah, yes, you can do that. Yes, you can do that. There are several of them. There are so it's a course of its own. It's a course of its own that you can go and do in the university in master level.
Yes, I
That you
have
want
a
to
basic.
specialize in
I have
GIS.
a basic knowledge, but I would like to push it further. That's what I'm saying. So, any recommendation?
Okay, yes, you
Because
can.
it's scarce in
Yes, you can.
Nigeria.
You can. Yes. For those who work in ministries like Abuja Geographical Ages, the people who are doing there, who are working there, they have good knowledge of it. If you go there to go and get anything relating to your land matters, they don't give you your plot number, carry your plot number, all the information relating to you and relating to your payment is there. All the rent that you have paid for several years is there. The receipt, everything is there. So that is how it works. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any further comment?
I thought you were rolling the slides over again. Perhaps we can have a screenshot of each slide. Thank you, sir.
Or a copy of the
Okay.
notes.
Eh?
So, can we have your lecture notes, please?
You have your this thing now.
Yeah, but this is a summary.
It's not a summary of that one.
It's easier to read the notes.
It's, the whole of that is you have your lectures. Okay.
You can move to the next, sir. Just at interval, just like 3 seconds with screenshots and you move, sir. Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Next, sir.
No slides.
Yes, sir. Next, sir.
Yeah, what of other persons? Huh?
Yes, sir. Next
What
slide,
of other
sir.
persons?
Okay. Let me just be patient. Thank you very much, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Sir, page 10, please.
Hello.
Please, can we
Are
have
you
page
still
10?
there?
Page
Yes,
10,
sir, we are
sir.
here.
Slide 10.
Eh?
Slide 10, please. Slide 10.
Okay. Can you see it?
Not yet,
Can you
sir.
see it?
Not yet, sir.
Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So any other questions, any comments? Eh? Okay. Can we close the lecture till next time?
Okay, sir.
Eh? It's okay.
Okay,
So in summary,
sir, no problem, sir.
eh? In
No
summary,
problem, sir. Thank
we
you.
have, listen now, in summary, we have discussed the role of GIS in land administration. We have discussed the components of GIS, and we have discussed also database management systems and their uses. We also discussed the uses of spreadsheet in real estate surveying and valuation practice. So thank you very much. I wish you best of luck. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. God bless you.
Mana? Oh. Hello. Hello, Godfather. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can see it's Adriana. Please, are we on a break? Hello? Are we on a break? I can't hear you. What's happening? Can you hear me? We are writing this exam together. I just want to find out. Are we on a break? Because I can't hear anything. Hello? Can you hear me? Ha. Jesus.
I think we're on a break.
Exactly. Okay.
The last speaker actually said goodbye.
Mommy. Yes. Thank you, darling. Thank you. How are you, Governor? How was school today? Good. Yeah, school. Come, what did they teach you in school today?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon, sir. How's work
Yes.
today, sir?
It's fine. No, we are still on it.
Hey, yeah, sorry, sir. It is well.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir. Very nice. I want to wait some few minutes for some people to join us, for others to join us.
It's okay, ma.
So I think we can start the class. It's 4:05 here.
We can start, ma.
Okay, sir. So good afternoon, everyone. Today, okay, let me share my screen with you so that you know what we are to do. today we are going to be talking about waste management. We're going to be talking about waste management. Okay. So waste management is all the activities or actions required to manage waste from its inception to its final disposal. That is from the time of the waste generation to the time when finally disposed. It is also the ability in the processing of waste in a sanitary manner in order to reduce the extent of pollution. The waste cannot remain in your house. It has to be disposed. However, it doesn't sit there. Monitoring and regulation has to be carried out. Also, the legal and regulatory framework. So when we are talking about the legal and for example, we have the agency of have LOMA. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, ma.
Sorry, because I was logged out. Okay, thank you, sir. So let me put it on the video view. That is that about waste management. So I'm talking about LOMA. Let's, for example, we have LOMA. LOMA is in charge of collection of waste up to its disposal, the monitoring and regulation in Lagos. However, LOMA didn't just come in day. It was a one-man decision. LOMA, as an agency, is by law. And that is why we have in Lagos, we have Lagos State Waste Disposal Law. We have LOMA. So we are talking about waste management, talking about all those activities and actions that are required from the time when the waste is being generated to the time when it's disposed. However, it doesn't stop there. They are being monitored and they are being regulated so that anybody will not just come pack waste and just dump. Now, the different categories, we have 5 categories of waste. The waste or so the first one, we have a municipal waste, MSW, municipal solid waste. As the name implies, that is the waste they cause injury. They are not harmful to both humans and animals. So they are municipal solid waste. They are generated from city, town, or village. And also, when we are talking about city, we have homes in cities, even in towns or villages. We have homes, we have institutions in cities, in towns, and we have the commercial establishments. These are the wastes that we generally refer to as trash, garbage, refuse, rubbish, litter, because they are everywhere. And examples of this solid waste are plastic, or papers, glass, wood, and so on and so forth. Now, all this municipal solid waste, all things that generate municipal, if you look at the table on the right-hand side, see the waste we generate and see how long it takes a particular waste to decompose or to biodegrade. For example, see cardboard. It takes 2 months for cardboard.
Hello, ma'am.
You can hear me?
We can barely hear you, and we can't even see the screen. Right from when you started talking about municipal waste, we lost you.
Can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
I'm already screen.
It's coming up, but it's taking time.
Comes up for me. Is the screen up?
Yes, it's up now. It's up now.
Okay. Thank you. You can't say anything, please just get back to me so that I'll know. So the right hand side, see this to get and see how I think the network is very bad again. It's logging me out. It's really, really logging me out. So I'm sure the screen is now visible again. So I was talking about still on this municipal solid waste, that see the waste item and see how long it takes for every waste to degenerate. And that is why, we have to do something about the extent or the quantity of waste we generate. Now, another thing So the number 2 category of waste that we have is the hazardous waste. Those wastes, they have the potential of causing harm to our health and to the environment. They are hazardous because of their concentration, because of their quantity, their physical and chemical characteristics. That is why they are hazardous. That is why we call them hazardous, because they possess potential hazard to our health and to the environment. Now, for this hazardous waste, why do we call them hazardous? Because they exhibit some characteristics, toxicity, reactivity, ignitability, corrosive and infectious. That is, these hazardous waste, some are toxic, some are reactive, some are ignitable, some are corrosive, and some are infectious. So when we talk about toxic waste, all this, there's no how you're going to talk about hazardous waste that you're not going to talk about all these characteristics under hazardous waste, being toxic, reactive, ignitable, corrosive, and infectious. So when we are talking about toxic waste, we are talking about waste that are poisonous, even in their small or trace amounts. They are carcinogenic, that is, they can cause cancer. They are mutagenic too, that is, they tend to change, the structure of the DNA in our body system. And also they affect both humans and animals. Humans do have cancer, God forbid, animals too. So we shouldn't expose ourselves to all this toxic waste. And where can we get all this toxic waste? Our pesticides, heavy metal, even from all radioactive substances. When you are entering into an X-ray room, you have to protect yourself. It is not where you can just enter anyhow, because waste, or let me say the rays that are being emitted from our X-ray, they are toxic to our health. Also, we have a reactive waste. Reactive because they have the tendency to react vigorously with air or water. They also generate toxic gases. Examples of this reactive waste are our gunpowder. Gunpowder are reactive, your bleaches, your oxidizers, and so on. So the third characteristic of hazardous waste, we've talked about being toxic, we've talked about being reactive. We are also talking about ignitable waste. It's another characteristic under hazardous waste. When we are talking about ignitable, something that is flammable, they burn at relatively low temperature. They are capable of spontaneous combustion during storage, transport, or disposal. Sometimes, like, I don't know the states where one issue occurred recently where they said, they were transporting probably some gunpowder or some security materials, and it exploded, So all those things, they are ignitable, it's flammable. Also your paint thinner too. Now, another characteristics of hazardous waste is corrosive. We have corrosive waste, that is those that destroy materials and living tissues by chemical reactions. We also have infectious waste. They can be transmitted, they can transmit disease or infection from one person that is infected to other. And I'm sure the examples of those ones, we can find them in hospitals where we have human tissues after surgery, bandages, needles, and all that. But don't forget, some of these hazardous waste can also be found at home. We use them at home. For example, we have our insecticide too. Don't forget, your insecticide could be what? It is hazardous. Fine, it has its own advantages. We use it to kill mosquito and all that. But if inhaled, it could be harmful to us. And in fact, you cannot spray your insecticide in open fire. It can cause, a very, very serious damage. So even at home, we have to be careful in dealing with all these things that we use at home. Another category of waste that we are talking about, because we said we have 5 categories. We've talked about the municipal solid waste, we've talked about the hazardous waste that has some characteristics under it. Then we are talking about agricultural waste. We know agricultural waste. Those are the waste produced as a result of various agricultural operations, our manure, from manure gotten from, from animals that we rear in our farms, poultry houses, slaughterhouses, harvest waste and all that. And we have different examples of agricultural waste. However, in developed countries, in most developed countries, agricultural waste are not being, they are not being taken out and burnt. They are being converted into climate-friendly fuel. For example, your biogas, they are being turned to biogas in a biomass plant. Also, even here in Nigeria, fine, we still burn some of our agricultural waste, but we can still, we still try to use our agricultural waste in other areas. For example, in civil engineering, we have something that we call pozzolans, some agricultural waste that possess, that can be classified as pozzolan can now be used as substitute material for our cement. Instead of you have a concrete you want to build, instead of using 100% cement, you can use some agricultural waste that are pozzolans. You can use them to replace, you can use them as partial replacement for cement. So I think we are also improving in the area of agricultural waste. Then the fourth category of waste, we have industrial waste. They contain more of toxic and require special treatment. If they are being emitted, for example, if you see figure 15, see the amount of smoke or see the amount of waste that is being coming off, that is being generated from that industry. Imagine people living in that particular area and they inhale it. Imagine what, the consequence on human health and even on the environment as a whole. So exposure to all this, to industrial waste, can lead to disorder or breakdown of the nervous system. It can cause skin disease, it can cause cancer, it can cause genetic defects. And where do we get the sources of this industrial waste? Fine, we have industries around where we can get, where due to what they manufacture or what they process, they tend to release some toxic material into the atmosphere. However, it's very, what I'm talking about, we can see this good example in oil producing industries. See what is happening at Niger Delta. The water has been polluted, they cannot even fish and all that. So, and this is due to what? The industrial waste, after nobody's cleaning up, they release it, they get their money, they give governments their, their own share. Nobody's thinking of the host community or what is happening to all this waste that are being released into the atmosphere. And the fifth category of waste, we have the biomedical waste. We know what biomedical waste are. They are generated in our clinics, in our hospitals, as a result of diagnosis, treatment, immunization of human beings, or even in human beings and animals, So they are biological, some are non-biological, and they are supposed to be discarded carefully. So when we are talking about biological waste, care must be taken in the process of segregation, transportation, and their storage. They shouldn't be packed with other categories of waste. They should be separated. They should be well labeled. And talking about biomedical waste, because under biomedical waste, we have different categories of, we have different examples of waste under biomedical waste. And that is why for biomedical waste, they use color codes. By the time we go to our hospitals, of course, standard hospitals, they have different colors for their refuse. The yellow one is for body parts, placentas, for bandages, for cuttings and all that. The red one for infected dressing, POP cast, the blue one, the black one, the white one. All this, it's just the whole essence of having different colors, or the whole essence of using different colors in our biomedical facilities is just to, segregate so that they will know how to dispose each one carefully. Now we have having talked about the different categories of waste that we have. We also have our waste. Now we've generated the waste. You know, what do we do with the waste that has been generated? Of course, we have to dispose our waste, and we have different waste disposal methods. We have the landfill. Landfill is everywhere. You know, there's a landfill between Ojota and Ketu, Olushosho, I don't know. I don't know the correct pronunciation for that. Olushosho. It's a landfill anyway, a very big one for that matter. It's a very big landfill where after they come to our different houses to pack our waste, they take everything to that landfill. And talking about the landfill, it's a traditional method of waste disposal. Looking at the site, it looks very, very ugly, and dangerous gases are being given off, you know, from the site, because deaths or waste from different area, different location, you know, everything at one place. So dangerous gases are being given off, causing air pollution, and of course, they contribute to global warming. And sometimes this refuse or these different waste that are being dumped on the landfill, some of them could get into the ground, thereby causing intoxicating streams or rivers. That is causing, because so many things will, you know, they can readily seep under the ground into our streams and all that. And by the time people go to the stream or people go to the river, especially in rural areas, you know, they get infected with cholera, diarrhea, and all that. The second waste disposal method that we are going to talk about is incineration. I'm sure we know what incineration is, you know, combustion of solid waste at high temperature. Fine, some people do burn instead of waiting for Loma to come and pack. Some people can decide to burn their waste in a drum, a perforated drum, while some they use brick to just build a small shed, you know, where they can just pour their refuse and burn. And of course, by the time they burn, most of the refuse will be converted to ash. However, this kind of method or this waste disposal method requires skilled labor, you know, because we are talking with fire. You don't want a small child to be, you know, to be doing this type of waste disposal. You don't want a small child to be playing with fire and all that. So it takes someone that is skilled or that is experienced, you know, incineration waste disposal method. And of course, it pollutes air too, because by the time you burn, smoke and everything everywhere will be polluted, and you know. So that's the second waste disposal method. The third waste disposal method that we have is compaction. That is, by the time all your waste are at a place, then by a roller is being employed or a roller is being used, you know, to compact or compress all your waste before they are being stacked. Most times, this particular method is used when you have recycling at the back of your mind, so that by the time you gather the waste, you compact them, you know, you will be able to stack them before you now take each one to where they will be recycled. And we have another method. We have pyrolysis. This is a more advanced waste disposal. It requires advanced technology. Now, we have refuse chutes too. Chutes are ducts, you know. This is being used in high-rise building, for example, hospitals, hotels. And the whole essence of this is, you know, when you have high-rise building, people on the 10th floor, 11th floor, and all that, by the time they generate waste, it is not going to be convenient to come all the way up to the ground floor in order to dispose their waste. So at every level, You know, at every level, they have a chute indoor intake. For example, see that figure 20. At that level, that man is disposed of, and of course, in this kind, for this kind of waste disposal method, you have to, you know, bag your refuse, put them in a nylon and tie them very well. Because figure 20, that man is disposing his bagged refuse. And by the time you see figure 21, see how a chute looks outside a residential building. So at every level, every occupant, they have this particular opening, like the one you are seeing in figure 20. They have this part. So you generate your refuse, come out of your apartment, pack them together and put them in that chute. So it's going to travel vertically downwards, you know, to the ground floor where it's going to be where it's going to be collected. So this about these chutes, they are constructed from steel, stainless steel in particular. You can't use fiber, you can't use plastic. Why? Because, you know, because of fire hazards, and because you don't want reactions. You know, they can react. By the time you use plastic, it can react to, you know, acidic waste. So that is why stainless steel is being recommended. This is on every floor. It's very easy. It reduces stress of going to the ground floor. You know, it's easy, it's hygienic, and of course, it facilitates the collection of garbage of a particular building, no matter how many floors you have in that building. It facilitates the collection at a particular point. So they can now come, pack it from that point instead of employing people going from one level to another. So refuse chutes is another waste. And of course, for the chutes, we have a different diameter depending on the purpose. For residential, of course, what we use for residential is not going to be as big as what you're going to use for commercial or for, you know, for hospitals and all that. So residential, we have the diameter of the chute should be between 450 to 600. For commercial, 600 the diameter. And for malls, hotels, or bigger hospitals, you can use a 750 diameter chutes. So that about the chutes. Now, waste minimization. Now, before I go on to waste minimization, we've talked about the different categories of waste and the different disposal method that we have. So please, do we have any question? Do we have any question? So I think we don't have any question. So waste minimization. We are talking about waste management now. All this waste that we are generating, is there a possible way of managing or minimizing? Because there's no how we can do without generating waste. But is there a way of minimizing this waste? So we all have the responsibility to manage or minimize our waste sustainably, you know. We are talking about, everybody is talking about SDG goals. So everything we do, it has to be sustainable, you know, to the environment. We don't want to do our environment has depreciated a lot. So we are trying now to control or to look for ways of, you know, taking charge of what is happening. So in minimizing our waste, we are adopting a 3R principle. 3R principle. Now, the 3R, we're talking about the reduce, reuse, and recycle. However, in some textbooks, you might have it as 5 Rs. That is the reduce, the reuse, the recycle, the recover, and the residual management. But for the purpose of this class, we are going to stop at 3 Rs, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now, the big question is, where did the 3R, where did they come from? And why in that order, you know? Why do we have reduce first before reuse or before recycle? Why can't we say recycle or just arrange it in our own way? Now, it comes from the 3R principle, comes from the integrated solid waste management hierarchy. Integrated solid waste management hierarchy. And this hierarchy specifies the preferred order of various methods to manage solid waste. It specifies the preferred order, that is how it's being preferred. For example, if you look at figure 22, the most preferred one is what? The reduction. Reduction is most preferred, followed by reuse, and recycling is at the bottom of that hierarchy. So, and this ISWM is being adopted by government. It's just a means of achieving sustainability, reduction, reuse, recycling. We are going to base ourselves on the 3 R's. We are not talking about any 5 R. Now, looking at figure 22, why reduction? Why is reduction most preferred? I'm sure it's just that we are not in a traditional classroom, would have been able to rub minds together, ask questions, and of course everybody will have something to say. But well, as it is, why is reduction or why is reduce the most preferred? Of course, it's better we reduce the amount of waste we generate. It's a way of minimizing our waste, is a kind of waste management. So for example, when we go to the market, if we have the resources, we should ensure that we buy in bulk. By the time we buy in bulk, we are not going back to the market tomorrow. And by the time we purchase, we should purchase using minimal packaging. If we've bought something and they've packed it in nylon A, and we want to buy another item B, if they can be packed together, just tell the person that, okay, please don't worry, I already have a nylon here. Bring the item, let me pack it together. Instead of packing things, differently, by the time you now get home, you now have so many nylons, So in trying to minimize our waste, we are talking about reduction. So what can we do in order to reduce our waste? We should try to buy in bulk. We should try to purchase items with minimal packaging. It is not every single thing we buy that will require nylon. Please give me nylon for this, give me nylon. Then, if possible, we should operate a refill system. For example, let's talk about Milo, for example. We have the refill, we have the tin. If you already have an existing tin at home, and you go to the market to buy Milo, why do you need another tin? Why can't you, buy the refill, pour it inside the tin that's already? Just trying to minimize waste as much as we can. And of course, we should try to reduce the purchase of unnecessary items. Any item that we don't need, we should not bother to buy them. That way, and I'm sure you also have on this particular reduction, I'm sure you also have some other ways in your mind. So, and of course, you're always free to express yourself in your own words. Now, that is reduction, which is the most preferred. We also have reuse, because we know what reuse is now. We should repair our items. We should try and reuse them. If they can be reused, we should reuse them. We should sell them, or we should donate them to charity. Instead of just using something at once and throwing it away, you can reuse. And that is why metal spoons are better than plastic spoons. Metal spoons, by the time you finish using them, you can still wash them and reuse them and reuse. The whole essence is anything you can do to reduce your waste, anything you can do to reuse your item, so that we'll have a minimal waste being generated. Also, and the last one, we have a recycle. That is, we should recycle. Now, after a product's useful life, the best thing to do is to recycle. Instead of just throwing it away anyhow, we should pack them to recycling points. You understand? So the whole essence of recycling is it can be used, that thing can be used to produce another item. You are trying to reduce your waste. You are trying to reduce pollution, of course, and it's also a source of income for some people. I don't know the name. They call those guys. They pick they pick things that we think they are not valuable, that we throw away. Those guys will come, pick them up, take them to where they store them, weigh them, and sell it to people from the industry. It's a way of recycling, which is very, very good. That way, it's even providing source of income for some people. So on waste minimization, we should not forget the 3 R's. The 3 R's, that is the reduce, the reuse, and the recycling. Now, what are the effects of waste? What are the effects of waste? When we are talking about waste, we know they have negative. There's no how that we won't generate waste as humans, but the way we handle our waste, we have to be very careful that they won't serve as they won't affect our health negatively. They are not going to affect our environment negatively, even animal and aquatic. So for the health, it causes cancer. By the time you don't dispose those waste that you're supposed to pack separately and dispose separately, by the time you don't do that, by the time you just put them anywhere or anyhow, by the time you are not your brother's keeper, those waste will come back to have a negative effect on our health, even on our environment. They pollute water, they pollute soil, the air is being contaminated. And of course, leading to, because the air is being contaminated, most refuse or most waste release CO2 into the atmosphere, causing a greenhouse emission. And of course, it is changing our climate, and that is why they are saying ozone is being depleted. See the intensity of sunlight nowadays. Everywhere will be so hot, because those layers that are supposed to protect or that are supposed to guide us, they are already being exposed. They are already, being depleted. So we are exposing ourselves directly to the intensity of sunlight now. And on animals and aquatic too, see, by the time you go to seas and oceans, you will see plastic, plastic bottles everywhere and all that. Animals, fish don't need plastic, but because we just dump them there, they are being forced. All the aquatic animals, they are being forced, to feed on this our plastics and all other things that are not supposed to be there. Therefore, it is reducing the amount of oxygen they inhale or they need as animals, and also it is even killing some. Some are going into extinction, say because of the death or things that we do carelessly and we just throw away without taking into consideration their effects. So we have to be very careful in handling our waste. So I'm done with waste management, at least in the context of this class. I'm moving on to life cycle assessment. So before I start life cycle assessment, do we have any question? Do we have any question? So if we don't have any question, I believe we are moving fast for today. So life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment, it means it can also be called life cycle analysis, LCA. It can be called eco balance. It can be called cradle to grave analysis. Cradle from birth, that is cradle to grave, to the point when the product has used, its life, to the point when the product is no more useful. That is why we are calling it life cycle analysis, eco balance, or cradle to grave, just as the name implies. Now, talking about LCA is also a systematic approach of looking at a product's complete life cycle, right from when it's being generated to its final disposal. See that got 23, a product life cycle. For every product, it starts with with the raw material. After the raw material, it's going to be transported to where it's going to be processed. You acquire your raw material, you process your raw material, you manufacture your raw material, package, distribute, and it will not get to us for use, you know. So by the time we now have that that product or that item, no matter how long we use it, one day it's going to, we'll be in need of disposing it. So it's just a circle, starting from the cradle to the grave. That is starting from the point where that material, you know, starting from the point where you are getting raw material for that particular product to the time when it's being disposed in that particular circle. That is what we are talking of when we are talking about life cycle assessment, a systematic approach of looking at a product's complete life cycle. It also considers both a qualitative and a quantitative aspect of that particular product. It considers all the environmental aspects and potential impact right from the extraction of that raw material. Aside from looking at it in the systematic, using systematic approach, it will also consider what is the environmental impact of that particular product. Every product has an impact on the environment. So we need to assess the environmental impact of extracting and processing of our raw material. You know, for example, many modern products contain plastic or metal. And what are plastic? Plastics, they are polymers produced using crude oil. You know, plastics are polymers produced from crude oils. Now, when we're talking crude oil, about crude oil, don't forget, your crude oil has to be extracted. It will be transported. Before it will now be transported to refineries. You know, by the time it gets to a refinery, hydrocarbons will be separated, it will be cracked before polymers are being produced. Before they now use this polymer to produce your plastic. Now, all these processes, you know, all these processes consume what? Energy. All these processes, you know, the extraction and all that consumes energy. So when you're talking about, and of course, it consumes energy and it also releases energy. So when you're talking about your life cycle analysis, you have to acquire your raw material, you have to manufacture, you have to process it, manufacture it, you have to transport, distribute it so that you will use it and before you now dispose it. However, it is not as easy as it looks. You know, raw materials we have input and output, you know, energy, all these processes requires a high amount of energy. For example, too, I've talked about plastic, you know, for example, to even metals, you know, metals, they don't just come by like that. You have to extract metals, you know. Firstly, your ore has to be dug. You know, you have to get your ore, you have to mine your ore, you have to transport or process your ore before metal will now be extracted from this ore. You know, all these processes too generate what large amount of all these processes requires energy, and also they generate large amount of toxic waste are being released before this material will now be manufactured, it will now be packaged and all that. So in essence, when we're talking about the life cycle assessment, we are also, aside from knowing, you know, the life cycle of a particular product from the point where you get the raw material to the point where you dispose it, you have to know that some things are being, you know, some inputs are being made while some outputs. By the time you look at this, the side of this output in your figure 24, showing environmental and potential impacts, you know, I showed you the picture of an industry. I see the effluent or the smoke that is being released into the atmosphere. So solid waste to be released, waterborne waste to be released, atmospheric emissions, smoke everywhere. All these are our processes too, you know. So by the time you're talking about your life cycle assessment, you have to look at it very well, right from the point of getting your waste, of getting the raw material. Consider what's going to put into the production of that particular product, And don't forget, don't let us do IDK attitude and be all out for the profits we are going to get from that particular product. We should also take into consideration what is being released into the atmosphere. So why do we use LCA? That is, why do we use life cycle assessment or life cycle analysis? It is just to study the impacts, of our goods, our services, our technology on the environment. Don't forget, we have EIA too, environmental impact assessment. It is very, very important. It's just a subdivision under your LCA, your life cycle, because now we are talking about all these things. How does they affect our environment? So, and to identify and to implement ways of improving the environmental footprint, and it helps during the design stage, of a new product. Before you just go into a product, of course, these are the things you need to do. You need to sit down and look at how the product you have in mind, how you are going to get the material, what energy you have to put in manufacturing, in processing that thing, and even during the manufacturing of the process, what is being released. Your environment should be very, very important to you. Now, how LCA works, this is very important. Just like I've said, how it works. It works by considering the major stages of a product life, which are raw material acquisition. It includes material harvesting and transportation to processing sites. Then the second one, processing. It involves material processing and transportation to production sites. The third one, manufacturing. It involves, manufacturing of that product, assembling it, packaging it, and transporting it for distribution. And of course, the fourth step, or the first stage of a product life, which is how we use it before we now get to the waste management, or how they are being disposed. So you should know how LCA works. And we've talked about what LCA is, the different names it's being called, or the different terms that we can use. We've talked about, what we are trying to say when we're talking about your life cycle assessment. Now we are talking about how it works, starting from your raw material to the point where you dispose it. It's very important. Now, what are the LCA techniques? What are the LCA techniques? Now, we have 4 main steps of LCA, that is life cycle analysis or life cycle assessment technique. The first one is the goal and scope definition. The goal and scope definition. In fact, this is the first, and it is the most crucial aspect. We write projects too. By the time, for every project that you have to know your aim and your objectives. You define your aim, you define your objective. And of course, there's a scope. Your scope and delimitation, that is this particular project, I'm not going to go outside this. Anybody, if you want to go outside this, another person can take it as another project. So the first thing is you have to set your goal, and you have to know the scope. It's the first, and it's very crucial. Without it, results cannot be obtained. It describes the main reason why you are handling the process in the first place. It helps to define the product as well as its life cycle. In a way, under your goal and your scope definition, you are just trying to set your boundaries. That is okay. You are trying to set boundary for your study, or you are trying to set boundary for what you are going into. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. I'm not going outside this. And of course, in getting all this, you would have done some preliminary work. You would have gotten, you would have, gotten data. Of course, you can't venture into something that you don't have good experience or good knowledge about. You would have done your data, collect data, you understand, interpret those data that you've collected, so that you will know how best to go about what you intend to do. So the first step of your LCA technique is the goal and the scope definition. Now, the second step of the LCA technique is the life cycle inventory, or your inventory analysis. You know, the other time I talked about your input, what you are inputting into an LCA system and what is being, actually this LCA, this life cycle assessment, it's a very wide topic, but we are not going outside the context of this particular class or this particular lecture. So that is why I am trying to break it down like this, so that at least we will understand. But it's a wide, a wide topic on its own. So after setting your goal and scope definition, the next thing is your life cycle inventory, or you can call it your inventory analysis. That is, now you are now dealing with data on input and output. You know, inputs, you are putting energy, you are putting raw material. For output, see the environmental impact, from the output. So this entails the quantification of energy, water, and material or material or resources requirements, which are the inputs that you are putting into that particular project, as well as the emission of air, as well as the emission of atmospheric waste and other waste that is being or that are going to be released. So at this particular point, when you're talking about your inventory analysis, you are taking into consideration, or you are getting data, you are evaluating data on your input and your output. You are trying to weigh, you are weighing your options very well. What are those things that are going to be inputted into the system, and what are those things that are coming out? So you are just trying to do inventory analysis, you understand? So of course at this point you can know, you should be able to know the amount of energy a particular system is going to consume, the amount of water or the amount of resources you are going to put, that is inventory. And at the same time, the effect on the environment, which is the output. So the first one, the goal and your scope definition. The second one, the inventory analysis. At every stage, but if you look at figure 26, at every stage, each particular step is being connected to your data interpretation, or because at every point you have data that you should consider, you have data that you should analyze. When you are doing your inventory, you are going to get data, you are going to analyze your data. And the third one, the life cycle impact assessment, that is the impact assessment. It evaluates the human and ecological effects of the resources consumption and emission to the environment. That is how all our acts or how all our actions affect the environment, causing global warming, causing social and economic impact too. So life cycle impact assessment has to be done. Talking about your techniques, we said you should set your boundaries, that is your goal and scope. After that, you should do your inventory analysis, that is gets data on the inputs, gets data on the output. Then the third one, which is the impact assessment. Now your output, how seriously is it going to affect the environment? Is it something that, okay, probably it can be released and maybe with time everything will clear and everybody will be okay? Or is it something, what is the long and short term effects of that thing you are doing, in terms of when you are manufacturing it, in terms of when you are processing it, in terms of when you even dispose it? You have to consider the long and short term effect of it. And lastly, your final report. It's just like you're writing a project or you're writing a technical report, you understand, where you have your aim and objective, chapter 1, aim and introduction, aim and objective, chapter 2, the methodology, methods and methodology, chapter 4, result. And so that is that. your LCA techniques, you should know your LCA techniques, the goal and scope definition, your life cycle inventory, the impact assessment, the third one, and of course data, because all this data that you've collected at every point, you have to be able to analyze it. You have to be able to, you should have good understanding of it so that you'll be able to, make necessary conclusion and recommendation. So all these 3 steps, that is the goal and scope definition, the inventory analysis, and the impact assessment, they are related to one another. They are related. The data is being generated at each level, and the data generated must be interpreted so that you know what you are dealing with. So that is that about the LCA, the life cycle. So today we talked about the waste management and the life cycle assessment. Is there any question before I continue? Is there any question? I'm waiting for someone to tell me there's no question.
None from me, ma.
Okay, thank you. So I think because after this topic, the next topic we have is a construction specification and standard, and that will bring us to the end of PQE3. So I think we should leave the construction specification and standard to our last class, which is coming up on Saturday. Are we together? So I think we should leave the remaining 2 topics to our class coming up on Saturday. And for this class and for today, I am done. If there's any question, you can ask me. But let me give you something to work on. Try and
question.
You said what?
Check the chat. There is a question.
Okay. Okay. So let me stop sharing. Okay. How does LCA works? I think we've talked about how it works. Starting from, let me go back to the slide. How LCA works, these are the processes. So if you have a question, how does LCA works? These are the processes under it. What we've talked about, we get our raw material, we process them, we manufacture them. After manufacturing, it will be, under manufacturing, we have assembly, packaging it, and of course, you transport it for distribution. Then the product life, when you as the consumer now have access to that particular product. And lastly, the waste management, when you decide, to dispose it. How you dispose it, well, is left to you. Do you want to recycle that particular product, or you just want to take it to a landfill where it will just be there and to stay there for so many years before it's been biodegraded, while some will just be there for thousands, like a nylon. A nylon can live for 1,000 years. In fact, the Pepsi we took, the can Pepsi we took 20 years or 10 years ago is still there. It's still lying down there. It has not been broken down by microorganisms. It's still like, so we just need to be careful of what we do, or the best thing is, why don't we pack all this to where they can be recycled instead of just throwing them there. Some nylons we are using now, in fact, they will still be in existence when we clock 120, 150 die. Those nylons will still be in existence. So we just have to, be careful and try to minimize our waste. Do I have any other question? Okay, so if I don't have any, I just want you to do a assessment of a plastic a plastic bag and a paper bag on your own. Try and do a life assessment of a plastic bag and a paper bag. So that is that for today. There's no question. Thank you, everyone. So I hope we'll meet on Saturday for our last class.
Okay, ma. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Ina kuwa ní card data. Nígbà tí parí nǹkan fún mi. Tí bá ti parí lecture. Má. Lady, wọ́n láwọn àti 20 wọ́n láwọn ti gbọ́.